Hello, everyone. Welcome to Youth Bombs. I am Coleman.
I'm Holden.
I'm David.
Okay, and today we are going to talk about Charlie Kirk on campus at the University of Florida. So basically, the rundown is on the 27th February, Charlie Kirk made his way all the way to the swamp, and he spent about 3 hours in the Plaza of Americas talking with students, debating on various topics, what have you, and it was a lot. There's ways in which it was excellent, ways it could have been better. But yeah, what did you guys think? Did you have fun?
I sat in line for like 2.5 hours without a phone, so most of it was not fun. But eventually I got to debate him, so at least I didn't do it for anything.
Right, David. What about you? Did you have fun?
I did have fun. I got to see Charlie Kirk debate a lot of students. The first student that came up to debate Charlie was someone who was trying to get him to say that white supremacy was real, and that basically all black people were oppressed. And Charlie flipped it around and he asked him, is it easier for a white person or a black person to get into the University of Florida? Now, obviously, that wouldn't really apply to the University of Florida because we do not have DEI anymore. Right. But the point still stands. You just replace that with basically any other university, but a state university of Florida, and the point does stand. So because affirmative action does exist in a large majority of colleges and universities, and even in a lot of corporations.
Yeah, still true. Let's see, what else there's a lot of things we could do. So I'll break it down by sort of how this thing was set up. Basically, there's about like 15 volunteers. They're all students. They get up early, around 9. What they do is they set up like one booth for the speaker, Kirk, and then they have one booth for like tabling, giving out merchandise and the like. One thing, I think it went well since there was a lot of enthusiasm. I think and a lot of people came up to talk to him. I have another funny moment myself that I'll share later.
It made him look so good. There were people swarming around to try to get a picture with him or to try to even just get closer to him.
Yeah.
If you look at the photos of the event, a lot of aura. A lot. Like it just comes off.
What do you mean aura? Like, was he like shining gold or what?
I'm saying, like, you know why you would host a speaker when you have a speaker over?
Yeah.
You want an event that's not gonna like have a bunch of seats that aren't filled, and that is an event that's gonna like seem pretty full. Because if you have a speaker and there's like an event where you have a lot of chairs open, or there's not that many people and people are more dispersed, and that makes the speaker look bad. And this event made Charlie Kirk look really good because there was almost no space in between the crowd, and there were a lot of people there. A lot.
Okay. So, and then I think that was like one positive, but on the downside, I think this is where things could improve. And I think the Kirk team actually did catch this in their next event at FSU. They should have had a gate around the booths. Why do I say that? Because, it was hard for the volunteers to navigate in and outside their own tabling area. And then also when Charlie Kirk was supposed to leave, he got swarmed immediately. So he was constantly getting berated by like the people wanting to take pictures, sign the hats, and then it was a bit of a mess, and I kind of felt bad. But hey, as team learned, and I think we'll take that as a something to improve on the future. And then I think one moment I'll share, then Holden, we'll get to your interaction, was we had a speaker, I think was basically one of those Nick Fuentes types of people. Well,
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was in front of me.
Oh, he was right in front of you?
Really? Like the second, he was the next person after the next person. So
I think
two
I
people
heard
away.
about that. He was trying to ask him whether Vivek was American.
No, that was a different guy. That was Hugo. But
there's two of them. So I got the weirdest spot. Like, so there was this Nick Fuentes supporter who was in front of me, and a Nick Fuentes supporter who was right behind me. And somehow we got on the topic of immigration. And I heard them chatting about it or whatever, and I was just like, I strongly disagree. Your views are important, and you should really rethink it. And they were dead set on confronting Charlie Kirk about being America first. So it was disturbing.
Yeah. So I think there's like one part where it's like, what is Vivek really an American? He's Indian, and so that was one thing. And then there's one guy who was talking about Israel, It's basically, why isn't America first to support Israel? Was basically the question. And then Charlie Kirk asked an innocent question: "Are you a Christian?" And he's like, "Do not bring up my personal beliefs to this conversation. Do not bring it up." And then he's like, and the chair's like, "Okay, I guess you're not a Christian." But and then he's like, granted, there's flaws with this argument too, where Kirk says, "Well, in Genesis it says it is charitable to support the people of Israel or something of that like." Problem is, like, Israel as a state didn't exist in the time of Genesis, but so I guess obviously you're alluding to the people, but
I didn't see that part because I had to go for like a midterm, like midway through it. But honestly, I think support for Israel should mainly be because they are an ally. They do provide technology. I wouldn't really go back to the Old Testament of the Bible to try to justify that, because the church right now is Israel. The Christian, the Catholic Church is Israel, and it's not. We're a continuation of Israel, so it's.
That I never heard of before, because usually, like, when I talk to Christians, they acknowledge like the separation of Israel, and then
Protestants. Those are Protestants.
Those are Protestants.
Yeah. Well, the Catholic belief.
Okay.
The Catholic belief is that the Catholic Church, as of now, is Israel, and there are plenty of references to that in the New Testament, and especially in the Acts of Apostles as well. So, like when you try to go back and say, we got to defend Israel because of the Old Testament, which I'm not trying to like this Israel at all. Okay, like I respect Israel, of course, but when you try to go back to the Old Testament, you just have to understand the Israel now is not the same as Israel then.
Okay.
They're not the same thing. The state of Israel didn't exist then. Israel was a people and a nation.
Okay, hold on, you want to say something?
Well, and I don't want to speak about it because I don't think I know enough about it. So
okay, so then to finish off that conversation, at some point the guy's like "F off," and then Charlie Kirk's like, "All right, have a nice day," and then he basically, and then Carl, I guess they had a little bit of a bickering too about it's always the incels that bring up this topic, and then he's like, and then of course Charlie did a one-liner of, "I have 2 kids. How many kids do you have?" And then of course, childish, but whatever. I think now we'll get to the fun part of.
And I heard there was actually someone who went ahead and said that African Americans aren't Americans because the hyphenated.
What?
Something. That was something that I was absent for that part because I was in the midterm, but I heard that there was like some like I don't even know, some radical that tried to go up. The guy who said, "Or is Vivek American?" I heard that's one of the things he said.
Oh, like basically African Americans aren't Americans because they're black, or
because like
of African heritage.
And then he was trying to use there's a reason why it's African hyphenated American and not American.
Oh, geez.
Which it's absurd.
No.
You have radicals on both sides. You don't want to be in the radical left, and you don't want to be in the radical right as
well. I'm a radical for capitalism. I am definitely a radical. There's a place for being radical, I think, and that means you stand for something to a huge degree. Now, you could stand for something really bad or really good. So I don't have nothing. I have no problem with you being a radical as long as it's for something that's good.
And like, yeah.
Well, I guess in that case, I would be more radical in Catholic doctrine, or Christian doctrine, which doesn't go too far to the right or too far to the left, and which sort of encompasses part of
and
both
I've
aspects.
talked to someone I know who's. This will probably, we're gonna try to have a conversation about this next week, but foreshadowing. But we're talking about the politics of Catholicism and their engagement in politics thereafter. But that will be next week's episode.
They do have the highest voter turnout, right? Or
Catholics?
second or third. Yeah, Catholics do. There are a lot of Catholics in swing states as well. They have one of the highest voter turnouts, and they do decide a lot, like quite a bit of the elections. They help decide this election because in this election, usually it's 50-50 Catholics that go left and right, but in this election, it was 60% of Catholics that voted for Trump compared to about 40 that voted for Kamala. But let's go to you, Holden, because I kind of interrupted the part where we're gonna talk about how our very own Holden went ahead and got to ask Charlie a question. So tell us more about that.
I basically just said your organization. I was nervous at first. I was like, your organization is supposed to support limited government free markets. Like I read this on his website before I went there, just to like, I had something to say to open it up with. And he's like, yeah, I love tariffs. And I'm just like, I was like, that's bizarre. Like I just looked at him like he was crazy. And then he just had really horrible justifications for why tariffs are good. It was like, yeah, I mean, the overwhelming economic consensus is that tariffs, you could actually basically make this an axiom, which is tariffs will make it so that output will be lower than otherwise would. therefore decreasing workers' productivity and therefore decreasing workers' wages and overall economic wealth and output. So, and then I basically, I learned in the debate with him that he's effectively a Luddite. Like he doesn't like machines. I also learned that he thinks he attributes China's success to its tariffs, even though since they've joined the World Trade Organization in 2001, their tariffs have been much, much lower than they used to be. And of course, China has gotten capital markets, and any place that gets capital markets accumulates an enormous amount of wealth. It's amazing. So they've systematically been declining their tariffs, in 2001 when they joined the World Trade Organization. And I mean, there's a lot of things that happened that I can't remember, but I bet I can effectively guarantee that he's not going to post it, and if he does, it'll be extremely edited. And also, the most bizarre thing to me in the whole talk was that he was in favor of the Smoot-Hawley tariff. And I don't know if you guys are aware of this.
I learned that briefly, but could you refresh it?
So the Smoot-Hawley tariff was in 1930, and I pointed this out in the debate. So in 1930...
Oh, yeah, this is the Herbert Hoover one, yeah.
Right. Herbert Hoover basically slapped on a tariff, which was it was absolutely devastating during the Great Depression. Imports and exports both, and I pointed this out in the debate, went down over 60%, and it was a disaster. And we had 25% unemployment. It was really bad. Not that tariffs were the only thing that caused it. Credit expansion caused the crisis, but that exacerbated the crisis, made it worse. Mm-hmm. So tariffs. There's a long history of them doing really bad things, and that's one of them. And bizarrely, he was in favor of it. But So anyway,
that puzzles me too.
Yeah.
What made you think he was a Luddite, though?
Well, he doesn't want. So in the debate, he basically implied that he doesn't. There's going to be huge truck automation supposedly in the future, where truck drivers are going to be effectively automated by computers and machines that just are able to drive themselves. And they're like, well, and he basically implied that that he doesn't want that to happen. He wants to stop automation from happening for truck drivers. And of course, robots and automation increase worker productivity. We have the equivalent today of about 93 humans, depending on the source, but the very low estimates would say 93 humans working for us just with machine labor, and they just burn hydrocarbons.
So 93. Well, that is. Are you saying 93 truckers?
So the energy of 93 humans, people are able, in a first world country, the people today are able to use the energy of 93 humans. So, our energy consumption today is insanely high compared to what it used to be. Mm-hmm. And so we could very easily automate lots of tasks by just powering machines to do it for us.
Sure.
And they make us more productive and make life amazing. I love fossil fuel shirt on. I love. And he actually, I wore the same shirt to the debate. And he was like, "Oh, I like you already. You have a fossil fuel shirt." As soon as I walked up there, little did he know it was coming, I guess. But they actually power the machines, Charlie, that make us super productive and make life super amazing. And stopping that would be absolutely horrific.
Well, I think that especially if you're going to take the side that you do want mass deportations and immigrants do make up a significant part of the labor force, you should be pro automation and pro having more machinery that's going to allow us to perhaps deal with having less people in the workforce and to be able to increase our productivity in that way. Yeah,
and I think there's going to be this is just a small part of it, but and you see it over and over again if you're paying attention to the news at all, but there's a growing division between the technocratic right and then the Luddite right. I mean, and I think you know what. Yeah, right. Hold on. So basically, there's a traditionalist right in the sense of we are trying to preserve the romantic idea of the Protestant work ethic, and then if we try to advance too far into the technocratic, it just leads to tyranny, what have you. But it's the technocratic right that believes, via fossil fuels, via investing in AI, what have you, we are going to actually bring further human prosperity than you might think. And it's actually even more manifested in the IVF conversation. To be honest, my opinions aside, the Luddite right believes, traditional conception of children, what have you, is more, it's it is of God's design, right? But then you have IVF side of it, the technocratic side of it, where it's like, well, why not we create designer babies so we actually pick and choose the traits that we want, etc.
Well, you end up killing like 7 or 8 children in the
Right,
process.
that's the catch. But you get you understand the broader point I'm illustrating here. Like obviously,
Yes,
I'm
I get your
against the
point.
side of IVF. But
Yeah.
what do you have any more further comments on that divide in the right?
I mean, it's very simple. Life
Yeah.
used to suck, and today it doesn't. And because we have high power machines, we are super rich, and life is infinitely better than it used to be, and we should be excited about that. And the debate. And another thing that was bizarre is he's like, our workers' wages aren't rising for like today. The bottom 10% has better medicine, better transportation, better healthcare, better communication systems, better access to information than John D. Rockefeller did in 1915 as the richest man in the world. And it's just complete incompetence. It's not true. I pointed this out to everybody out there as well, that as China gets richer, and I said this to the crowd, I said, as China gets richer, they produce more, their productivity goes up, and they trade with us, we get richer too. The economy is not a zero-sum game. This is just the natural order of even a mixed economy we have today with capital markets. We're going to get more productive over time. And so, yeah, it's just, hopefully we could stop with the regressive. I was joking with my friend the other day. I created a new political spectrum. You've got regressives on one side and progressives on the other. I was telling that to Caddy, actually. And regressives just want to go back to the old ways of doing things. They want to stop progress. And then you got the progressives on one side, like obviously not progressives how we think of today, but progressives on the other side that are trying to make things better, trying to make life better, trying to promote capitalism and liberty and all that stuff. But yeah,
I think that if America does want to keep being a dominant hegemon, or if it wants to even have the option to be the global dominant hegemon, then it has to keep on advancing technologically. We can't just, like, for the sake of keeping what the Puritan work ethic, just stay back in the Protestant work ethic, just stay back in our old ways, because like life with technology and AI is going to be different. That doesn't mean it's going to be a bad thing. We're going to learn to adjust. New jobs are going to open up. Jobs that we couldn't imagine that could exist now are going to start existing because we're going to have new needs. And that's not a bad thing. China doesn't care. China is going to keep on advancing, and if we want to be, as Holden would say, regressive, then China is going to take over and be the dominant global hegemon of the world. And if we want to be more independent, and I'm also talking about economic independence as well, then we have to be the global dominant hegemon, and that means we have to use technology and AI in order to get there.
Okay. Any final thoughts, Holden?
Well, I don't think we need to be economically independent. This phone right here, there's 43 different countries that this was for raw materials and different stuff that it took to produce it, and it makes us more productive. It makes China more productive. I don't think we need to be economically independent.
I meant like more economically independent, like not completely dependent on all these different countries, to the point where if China were to cut off ties with us, then we would not be able to function as a society.
Oh yeah,
yeah. That's all I mean.
Okay, sure.
All right. Well, let's see. What else is there to say? What else? Something else that was on my mind regarding TPUSA. Sure, like there's a certain amount of conservatives, like in the right, that are still like technophobic, but here, one point I will make out though is like they've had to force their hand in the sense of like they've had to enter the social media sphere. Like I think Turning Point was actually one of the greatest pioneers in like hiring more, say, social media influencers, getting on TikTok in order to like influence Gen Z to agree with their persuasion in politics. And then they also took it upon themselves, especially during COVID, to start building what you call like a parallel economy. Or basically we take all these we identify all the woke institutions, and then we provide the antithesis. So I guess like Public Square has been doing a lot on that front, like just saying, hey, we're going to work with like YRFI or Birch Gold or what the several other organizations that like promote American values, and then allow like our conservative network to work within the organizations that actually align with us. So yeah, that was just so. Even though they may be openly against like technology in some fronts, like eventually their hand will have to get forced into embrace, technology and development, capitalism, etc. But that was just another point I wanted to make.
Yeah, I think technology is important. Developing our technology is important, but I also do believe that values are important, and that the traditional values are important as well. And I believe that these don't necessarily have to be at odds with each other. We can continue to advance as a society while continuing to respect things such as the sanctity that is life.
Yes. Holden, any final words?
I don't have any final thoughts.
Okay, cool. So we'll leave it at that then. I think there is a nice middle ground we can reach. And with that said, thank you all so much for watching this video. If you liked this video, smash the like button, turn on notifications, and subscribe to our channels on Rumble and YouTube. We post every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And if you would like to contact us for inquiries, what have you, ideas, youthbombs@alatrarepublicans.com. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good day.